It's a feeling familiar to so many of us, young and old, getting ever more enmeshed in the personally tailored feed, successive doses of dopamine pulling you further in. All the while, the awareness there's a powerful, unblinking force on the other side of the screen, monitoring and manipulating. And the chief concern, the impact of all this on our children, and just how much the giant tech companies know about it. That's at the heart of the case being brought by California's Attorney General and his colleagues from 3 other states, suing Meta potentially for hundreds of billions of dollars. Activists and families of children allegedly harmed through social media use gathering in support.
It is time that the public see what the executives at Meta have known all along, that their products are designed to addict and harm children. The names on that banner whose lives were cut too short. There is an 8-year-old on that banner.
Advertisers were allegedly giving access to our children so beauty ads could be delivered at the very moments these girls were at their most vulnerable. Let that sink in. When my daughter was struggling, it became Meta's bottom line.
The case seeks to establish 2 key things: that children are being addicted and harmed not just by the content available on Meta's products, but by their very design, and that Meta was well aware. Meta says the state's claims are unsubstantiated and their financial demands disproportionate. It says it stands by its record of creating strong protections for teens. Channel 4 News has obtained internal documents from a previous case, conversations about platform design and target users. One employee said in an internal chat, "Instagram is a drug." A colleague replied, "Lol, we're basically pushers." And when it came to young users, an internal strategy document suggested if we want to win big with teens, we must bring them in as tweens. Facebook also described under 13s as a big build opportunity. Meta told us some of that language was inappropriate, that it dropped its planned under 13 product, and that it has safeguards for reducing teen engagement and exposure to sensitive content. Meta's boss has previously called crime on social media as inevitable as it is in society.
I don't think that the standard for our platforms would be that you should assume that it will ever be perfect.
Already this year, in 2 separate cases centering on childhood social media addiction and mental health harm, Meta has been told to pay damages of nearly $1 billion. The company is appealing both judgments. Mark Zuckerberg is among many tech leaders to have cozied up to the Trump White House. The administration has been resisting attempts to regulate the companies at home and abroad. So campaigners are investing their hopes instead in the legal system. 4 states here representing 29 in all, in a case that with appeals could go all the way to the Supreme Court. For the families here, a symbol of the cost of delay, the newest section of their banner, names of young people added in the last 5 months.
Harry Fawcett. Well, joining me now from British Columbia is the lawyer Matthew Bergman, founder of the Social Media Victims Law Centre. He's represented young people and their families in legal actions against social media platforms. Matthew Bergman, thank you very much for coming on the programme. Not only have you represented victims in some of the biggest trials so far, you've also briefed the British government on this issue. How important is this trial? Is this the big tobacco moment for social media?
Well, this is the 3rd time in 4 months that Meta has faced a jury and been held accountable. So this is an inflection point in a long, hard road toward accountability.
And what will that road look like for Meta at the end of the day?
Well, at the end of the day, what we have learned from these trials is that moral persuasion does not work with these companies. There are many people within these companies who are currently inveighing against corporate leadership, trying to implement basic safety improvements, such as those that were imposed upon Meta by the court in New Mexico. But time and time again, those suggestions are rejected anytime it impacts profitability and the ability to keep kids addicted. So we believe that the only way to change their behavior is to hit them in the pocketbook. And this trial is one of an ongoing efforts to accomplish that objective.
But we also know that the political climate has changed in favor of less regulation. Mark Zuckerberg, donated $1 million to Trump's inauguration ball. He was invited to the inauguration, and soon afterwards, they sacked thousands of so-called moderators to try and look at some of the content. I mean, does he think he's acting with impunity in the political landscape at the moment?
Well, I don't believe so. As divided as American politics are on these issues, Republicans and Democrats are very closely together. And a bill was voted out of the Senate Commerce Committee on a bipartisan basis, the Kids Online Safety Act, just last week. And so we are hopeful that despite Mr. Zuckerberg's efforts, that senators and congresspeople will listen to their constituents who are parents who are just terrified about what their kids are encountering online.
And is the defense going to focus on the fact that ultimately what happens to your kids is the responsibility of either them, if they're over a certain age, or their parents?
Yeah, that's what we see. We see you blame the victim, you blame the parents, you blame anything other than your own platforms. Look, we're all in favor of parental responsibility, but these platforms are explicitly designed to evade parental responsibility. Instagram encourages kids to open Finstas, fake Instagram accounts. They call that a value add. And they encourage and provide opportunities for kids to hide their online activity from their parents' watchful eyes. So parents are really trying to paddle upstream as they try to control and try to monitor what their kids are doing. It doesn't have to be that hard.
Even if they're found guilty and they get hit with a massive fine, they've already had to pay $1 billion US, which I guess you could say is chump change when they're worth 1.4 trillion. But even if they get a bigger fine, what difference will that make to the company?
Well, we believe that ultimately it will make a huge difference because we've learned that moral persuasion doesn't work. Public humiliation doesn't appear to work. They've been excoriated in Congress, in the UK, and in the EU. It doesn't work. What works is to make it more expensive for them to design and produce dangerous platforms than safe ones. And if they have to bear the economic costs of what their platforms are doing to young people in the form of money damages, their behavior will change. If they have to follow the same rules that any other company in the UK or the US does, which is to basically utilize reasonable care or bear the financial consequences, their behavior will change. So the mere fact that this trial is starting is a huge inflection point in the overall battle toward accountability. For 20 years, these companies evaded any legal scrutiny, and this is an ongoing effort that is now expanding not just in the United States, but in the UK and elsewhere in the world to hold these companies accountable in courts of law.
Those who represent the social media giants or speak on their behalf, including in the administration, have said this is just making a hell of a lot of money for the trial lawyers, including people like you. What do you say to them?
I say to them that this is the most important battle that I have ever fought as a lawyer. This, to me, has the same resonance as the civil rights movement. And if I don't make a penny and I save one life, it's all been worth it. And if I never have to speak to another family who's lost a 14-year-old child to suicide, I'll be the happiest man on earth.
Are you confident of winning?
I am confident. I am hopeful, but I've always learned as a trial lawyer never to be too confident. I prefer to be I prefer to be overprepared.
Matthew Bergman, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you very much.